Hi everybody, my name is Arthur and welcome to another PixelPAD tutorial. We are coding our Fruit Slashers game. So last class we added a second banana to our game so we can see how our fruits are behaving, right? And we also started coding inside the fruit class now, and we say that every fruit, whenever this fruit's created inside the game, because this is on the start tab, right? This fruit's gonna start on the Y position minus 300. And that's what happens to our both bananas, right? But what we want to do now is, because the banana, our first banana created, the game.banana, it's the only fruit that is moving up and down, right? My second banana, this game.second banana, is not moving up and down even though it's a fruit. So here, what we want to do is, because right now, what we have is just the banana moves up and down, because our code is moving just the game.banana, right? But what we want to do is we want to say that all the fruits are gonna keep moving up and down once they are created. So here, I create first my banana inside the game, bloop, banana created. So my banana will move up and down because it is a fruit, not because it is a banana, but because it is a fruit. Once my banana is gone and I create an apple in my game, then my apple is also a fruit. So I don't have to move my apple separately. My apple is a fruit, so it knows that it has to go up and down, right? So how can we do that is by going inside the fruit is coding and encoding stuff inside here, right? Like we did for the start position on Y. We are now gonna do it on the loop tab as well for all the fruits to keep moving up and down. So here on the game, you can see that we have the two variables here, the velocity and the gravity, and we use them only for the fruit, right? Only the fruit will have a velocity and a gravity. So it's quite wrong for me to say that this is the game's velocity or this is the game's gravity, right? The game's gravity is still fine, but the game's velocity is kind of weird to say, right? Because that's not the game's velocity, that's my fruit's velocity. And all this code that is here on the loop tab is being ran by my game script. I don't want my game, the class, to keep running all this code here. I want the fruit to keep running the code by itself. So right now we have this happening. We have our game class, and our game class tell our fruit, in that case our banana, not our apple, but it tells our fruit to keep moving up and down, right? That's our game. But what we want to do is the fruit itself have the possibility to know what it has to do. So I am a fruit, so what do I have to do? As a fruit, I want to move up and then down. But that's because I'm a fruit, not because there is a game telling me what to do, right? And this is not so good, but this is the best thing we can have. So we don't want anyone else to tell our fruit what to do. Our fruit should know what to do by itself. So here in my game class, what I'm gonna do is on the loop tab here, I'm gonna erase all this code from here. We're not gonna allow our game to move our fruit for us. Our fruits will move themselves. And here on the start tab, I also don't want to have my velocity here on the start tab on my game, so I will remove that from here. We can let the game's gravity here. That's okay to say that this is a gravity from my game, so I'll leave it there. And what else? That's all we need for now. Okay, so now you can see that whenever we stop and play, I don't have any bananas jumping anymore, and I just have the two bananas placed on the same position. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna move my second banana a little bit to the right so we can see them together. So game.second banana.x is gonna be 100. So now you can see that I have my both bananas there, right? But they don't know what to do yet. So inside my fruit class, I have here that all my fruits, they're gonna start on the Y position as minus 300. There you go, they are there, right? And then I want to say as well that all the fruits will have a velocity Y. So I can say that self.velocity Y is gonna be 40. 40 was the number that I was using before on the game, so I'm just using the same number. So here I'm saying that self, so fruits, so the fruit's velocity starts with 40. whenever this fruit is created inside the game, it starts on the y minus 300 and it starts with a velocity of 40. All right. And now on the loop tab, I'm gonna retype those two lines we had in the game. So the first line is to keep moving my fruit up and down, right? So I can say that my y position, so I don't have to say game.banana anymore. So I don't have to say game.banana.y, because now I'm saying to all the fruits that they will behave like this. They will behave like this. They will have their own y, and their own y position will keep repeating this code, right? And their own y position will keep updating and will always be their y position plus their velocity y. So here you can see that all the fruits start on the y minus 300. All the fruits start with a velocity y of 40. And all the fruits keep updating their y position to always keep summing with the velocity y. You can see that now whenever I press play, so here whenever I try to run the game, it gave me an error saying that the name velocity is not defined in fruit loop, because my fruit doesn't know what velocity is, but it knows what self.velocity is, right? The same way that it doesn't know what y is, but it knows, it doesn't know what y is, but it knows what self.y is, right? It doesn't know what y is, but it knows its own y. It doesn't know what velocity is, but it knows its own velocity. So keep moving my y position and adding the velocity y to its position. So whenever I press play, you can see that my both fruits behave the same way, right? Because they are both fruits, right? And I can also say here that my own velocity y, will always keep updating, right? Because we are on the loop tab. So my own velocity y will always be my velocity y, so self.velocity y minus the game's gravity, so game.gravity. Okay, so my y position as a fruit, my y position will always be updated, and I will always keep adding my velocity y to my y position, and I will always keep updating my velocity y, and I'll always take the value of gravity from my velocity y. So I'll keep reducing my velocity with my gravity, right? And then now you can see that whenever I press play, both fruits behave the same, right? Because they are both fruits, not because they're both bananas, but because they're both fruits. All right. So now we have our fruit doing its own stuff, right? Whatever fruit I create inside my game, it will position itself, it will choose its own velocity, and it will move itself as well. So you can see that here on the game, I don't do much anymore, right? I just create my fruit and give it a sprite, right? Which is way better than having those ton of lines we had before. Our code looks way cleaner, right? And now we can start coding our spawner. So for now, I will delete the second banana that I created. I don't need it here. And I will also delete my banana here that I created on the game start, because I don't want my game to start with a banana there. I want my spawner, my fruits creator, to create my fruits for me, right? So now when I press play, I don't have anything in my game yet. The fruits creator is there. It's just outside of the screen, right? To the right here, but it is there. So here, let's go inside the spawner class. And now we're gonna tell the game how the spawner will work. And my fruits creator is a spawner and it is inside the game already. So that's how my fruits creator is gonna work, okay? So here for my fruits creator, what I want to do is I want to create a fruit every 1 second, let's say. So if I need to count a timer, for example, every 1 second or every half a second, I will need to have a timer here on my spawner class to control that. And to create a timer, we're basically creating a new variable. So I'm gonna say to the spawner that it has a timer variable, so self.timer, and this timer will start with a number. So if I want to wait 1 second, I cannot use 1 here, and you will see why in a moment. Okay, so let's just use 1 here for now, and you'll see why it doesn't really work. So here on the loop tab, I have then to keep reducing my timer, right? Every loop frame, it should reduce 1 from my timer. So here I can say that my timer, so self.timer, is gonna be self.timer minus 1. So every loop frame, it will take 1 from my timer. So that's why I cannot use 1 here on my timer, because my loop tab runs many times per second. It's not just 1 time per second. Actually, it runs 60 times per second. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that this line of code here will run 60 times until it gets to 1 second. Okay, so if it's gonna run 60 times until it gets to 1 second, I want my timer after 1 second to be equal 0, right? So I have to let my timer here start with not 1, but with 60. Because after 1 second, then my timer will be 0. And then, as this is a timer, I want to do something when the timer runs out, right? When the timer reaches 0. So if my self.timer is equals 0, then, so here is a new line of code, okay? So this if is a condition. So we are checking if my timer is equals 0. And why did I use 2 equals? Because it's different than 1 equal, okay? So 1 equal is to assign something. So I'm saying that my timer is my timer minus 1. So if my timer is 60, then my timer will be 59. And then if my timer is 59, then my timer is 58, right? This will keep reducing my timer. And the if is a question. So I'm asking if my self timer is equals 0. So 2 equals is a question. If I do like this, I'm not checking anything. I'm saying that my timer is 0. So if I want to ask if my timer is equal 0, I use 2 equals. All right. So the loop tab will keep running and repeating again and again and again. And my timer starts with 60. So on the first loop, it will run, and then my timer will become 59, right? My timer will be 60 minus 1, then 59. That's the value of my timer. And then it will check if my timer is equal 0. If it is equal 0, then I can tell it to do something. If it's not 0, then it won't do anything and will just skip my code and then start counting again on the next loop. So 59. My timer now is going to be 59 minus 1, so 58, and then 57, 56, 55, until it gets to 0. And when it's 0, what I want to do is, so after the if line, whatever you want to do, if the if line is true, if this condition is true, you have to put it with some indentation. So indentation is this spacing here that we add before the line, and we can add it by pressing tab on your keyboard, or you can just give it some spacing. So 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, all right? Or you can just press tab and it will give all these spaces for you. So whatever I type here now will only run if my timer is 0. So for example, if my time is 0, I want to create a new fruit. So I can just say here, for example, fruit, brackets, brackets. So you can see now that whenever I stop and play my game, after 1 second, there is a fruit that jumps on my screen, right? And we know that this is a fruit because of the way it behaves. It doesn't have a sprite yet because I haven't given it a sprite, but it behaves exactly like a fruit, right? And it just shows up after 1 second. So if 60 is 1 second, how much is 2 seconds? 120. How much is 5 seconds? So it's 60 times 5. So this would be 300. So let's see, if I leave here my timer starting with 300, I should press play and have to wait 5 seconds until I see my fruit. So let's check. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there you go, my fruit. So I'll let my timer here back to 1. I mean back to 60, 1 second, right? And here in the loop tab now, I don't want to just create a fruit, but I also want to give a sprite to this fruit. So for now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say that my banana is a fruit, and I don't have to say game.banana or self.banana because I don't have to access this banana from any other part of my script. I will do everything I need right here. So my banana is a fruit, and my banana has a sprite that is a sprite from the file banana.png. So I'm saying after 1 second, whenever my timer reaches 0, create a banana that is a fruit and give a sprite to this banana with the banana sprite that I have, right? And then now, after 1 second, I have my banana jumping, but it just jumps once, right? It doesn't jump anymore. Why? It doesn't create more fruits for us. Because my timer, once it reaches 0, it will create my banana, but then at the next loop, the timer will be 0, right? So my timer will now be 0 minus 1, that's minus 1, right? So it's not 0 anymore. So my timer here will just keep going down and down and down and down and down, right? Forever. So what we want to do is, after we create our first fruit, we want to reset the timer so it can start counting 1 second again, right? So to reset the timer, I can simply say here self.timer is equals 60. So let's see here. On the start tab, my timer starts with 60. It will keep counting my timer down, and once my timer reaches 0, I will create a fruit and store it inside my banana variable. So I'm calling my fruit as a banana, and I'm saying that my banana has a sprite from the file banana.png, right? And I also say that my timer is gonna be back to 60. So I'm gonna reset my timer back to 60 to start counting 60 more seconds. And then when my timer gets to 0 again, it will create another fruit and repeat the cycle again and again and again. So now, as you can see, when I press play, every 1 second, I have a banana jumping on my screen, right? Which is pretty cool. All right, so for now, we can just save our games and we will keep going on the next class. So I'll see you. Bye.